Welcome everyone to the Trust the Plan podcast. I'm Nick Hopwood, joined with Preston Gee, as well as Scott Donnell. Scott, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks, Nick. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, Scott, we invited Scott to come on today. He's considered one of the leading experts in financial literacy and building stronger families. He's the founder of dinnertable.com and author of the best-selling book, Value Creation Kid. Scott, what is Dinner Table all about?
Yeah, so Dinner Table started as an answer to the issues that schools don't fix and parents don't know how to teach their kids. So my quick background, started one of the largest, actually it is the largest school fundraising franchise in America. We've raised almost $1 billion for schools. We've helped about 7 million kids. I've personally run 1,500 pep rallies, raising money for schools and teaching leadership and fitness. But I immediately started to see issues in the school system. So they're not teaching financial competency, practical skills, critical thinking, those kinds of things, like learn how to learn to make it in the real world. And that was really the impetus for Dinner Table. So we started a lot of projects. We did business fairs, helping kids launch businesses online, teaching families like financial literacy and legacy. How do you pass these skills on from parent to kid? And ultimately, it ended up at Dinner Table with what we're doing today. So that's the Dinner Table program, is we coach families through the best practices to help your kids have an unfair advantage for the rest of their life. So family values, financial competency, mindset, skill sets to succeed.
So we're going to be doing a seminar at the end of the month for our clients as part of the Dinner Table program. And Scott, one of the pinnacles is talking about value creation. So how do you talk to your family, your kids, or even adult kids about value creation?
Yeah, so this was the first thing that I learned from the best 100 families in the world that we've been seeking out for 10 years. Okay. So I've been meeting with families, researching. I mean, we've helped millions. So we're trying to find the best families in the world and what they did to raise awesome kids and grandkids and great grandkids. All right. And our measurement is how much each generation blows by the previous one. Right. So in all those metrics. And so what we found, the first and most valuable lesson that we learned is this. It's about creating value, not money. So if you want to raise rock stars, you have to teach your kids, whether they're young or old. I mean, this can go all the way up into their 20s and 30s, right? We're not just talking about 5-year-olds. We're talking about teenagers, college, 20-year-old and up. Teach them to create value first, not money. And the reason for that is money is a store of the value you create, right? And people don't understand that. They just think like, oh, I'm going to talk to my kids about money. Well, your kids don't have expenses. They don't have ways to earn. They're not investing. They're not saving. They don't understand money. So if you just talk to them about just money, it can go in a bunch of bad directions. So it can make them entitled. It can become their identity. They could just throw it all out the window and say, forget this. I don't even want to think about money because it's the biggest fight in my home and parents argue about it. Like they don't see money in the right light. But what you have to do is you have to see money as a store of value. So then the model becomes, okay, if we want our kids to be financially competent and value creators, that's where we're going to focus. So we're going to hunt for ways to create value in our home, in our community, with the siblings, on sports teams. That's how you do it. And there's 3 types of value that we need to teach our kids and teens to create. First one is material value, right? That's like money's the result of that. That's where you solve problems, you find wants and needs, you serve other people. This is like the gigs around the house, in the community. The second one is emotional value, right? It's how you think and feel, help other people think and feel better. This is what makes for great friends and siblings and classmates and teammates. Then there's spiritual value, right? It's how you get people out of their own selfish pride and ego and learn to like be connected to a higher mission in life, higher goals, a calling to God. Like that's a whole nother bucket of value that gets created. It's actually what keeps kids from anxiety and all these other issues. And if you just focus on those 3 types of value, it's the greatest superpower we can give our kids.
So how do you transition that into value creation?
There's a ton of ways. Most of the tools we give in dinner table and the trainings help families pass that skill on to the next generation. So I'll just start with this. One of the greatest questions I've ever heard to ask your kids came from Sharon Lechter. She's like the godmother of financial literacy. Anyone who's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, she actually was the backbone of that book with Robert. She did the cash flow game. Like, she's unbelievable. And when we wrote our book, she told me a story. She said, "Hey, Scott, my my dad asked me one question growing up that changed my life. And he asked it every day. It was this: who did you create value for today? What value did you create in the world today?" And it's such an easy, simple way to get kids to start to have a worldview that they can be creating value everywhere they go. And they can solve problems. They can be looking around. Like, it gives them, like, they're value hunters. They have a lens to see it. And you know, what we measure is what matters, especially to our kids. And so if we're constantly following up on this, it gives them an incredible, just a lens to see the world, to find ways to hunt for value, like with their siblings, being great friends at school, helping the teacher. They do gigs like the home economy, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a second. But all these different things that we teach are about creating value in the home. And the kids have a role in the family, and it makes parents' lives so much more free and easy, less burdens and less exhaustion and busyness. Like, it just makes life so much better in the home.
So it seems like transitioning to the home economy, that when you're teaching your little kids about value and what that means, a lot of times it's best to, or easiest maybe, to illustrate that inside the home to start.
That's right. And that's why we have our home economy. This is the best way that you can help them to start to understand creating value. So instead of allowance, instead of, even the chores, these are both 100-year-old thinking that doesn't translate very well, right? Because if you give your kids allowance, it's money for existing. If you try to tie it to chores, you're still having all the conflict and you're still paying for everything for your kids. And most kids, like, half those chores they should never get paid for. And the other half of those chores, they should be, like, individually paid so that they can start to see the value that each one of those things creates, right? So that's why, and if you pay for everything for your kids and you never have them deal with money at all, well, that's kind of the worst scenario, because now they have no idea about anything financial competency based. So you've got to figure out a system that teaches them the basics of creating value and earning money. And it's the home economy. So the home economy system, which I know we're going to unpack at the August, right? You're going to go through that with folks.
Yes, we
That's
will.
a lot of what we coach on. And you can hear what I'm about to say and be like, "Oh, this is easy. I can do this." Trust me, you just need to sit down with, like, a coach. We give you the tools, you write it out, and then you're set, right? And then you download the free app, like, you're off and running. So this is the home economy. It's 3 E's: expectations, expenses, and then extra pay opportunities. That's what it is. We call those gigs. So the first one is expectations. These have nothing to do with money. It's just the way that they help out around the house. It's their role in the family, right? You don't pay your kids to make their bed, clean their room, wash dishes, trash, homework done when you get home from school. Like, this is part of your role in the family. If you want to keep our last name, that's what you're doing. All right.
It's the minimum expectation to keep the roof over your head.
That's right. That's right. And it should not be tied to money, because it's a different kind of value. It's emotional value and other things in the home. The second E is expenses. And this is kind of the pivot. So most parents have never thought about this, right? Because the more that we pay for our kids, the less they won't know what it costs. They won't care about it as much. They won't have any idea what it means to earn anything. And that's the quickest way to entitlement, is kids getting all of the things they want, or most of the things they want, not having to work for them or solve their own problems. That's what breeds entitlement. So what we say is, hey, there's a bunch of great expenses, little things that kids should be in charge of. I mean, as early as 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, give them their first few expenses that they're in charge of. And guess what? You save money as a parent that now you can pay them in gigs, the 30, and if they have expenses that they know that they're in charge of, they have a motive now to go create more and more value for you through the third E, which is the extra pay, the extra opportunity to earn. And so then, okay, and by the way, the expenses are like birthday presents for friends, toys. If you're going out to the movies, maybe your kids are in charge of the popcorn, right? If they're going to do basketball in the fall, they should be in charge of getting the shoes, right? Give them expenses to be in charge of. And I'm saying, like, move it up to hundreds and hundreds. We have families giving their kids over $1,000 a month in expenses. And those kids are doing so many incredible things around the home to learn all these capabilities and skills for life. And the parents there's zero conflict over chores. Their kids are never asking them for money and stuff anymore. Bank of mom and dad closed. And that's the power of doing this, right? Social outings, that's on you. Even trips, right? My buddy Chad, his daughter went on a $4,000 like mission trip in the summer. He said, okay, you got 6 months. You're in charge of that $4,000. She's like, what? He's like, so let's brainstorm ways to create value at home and in the community. And she started doing basketball lessons because she was like a varsity basketball player. She would charge like $50 for lessons. She made 10 grand
So
over the 6 months.
so the kids are finding ways inside the home to make money, and they get a taste of that. Now they can go outside the home,
That's right.
like you just mentioned. And I think that the possibilities are endless. And now you've created an entrepreneur.
That's right. Or at least entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
Not every kid's going to be an entrepreneur, but we want every kid to become entrepreneurial. That's empathy, customer first thinking, problem solving, wants and needs, like delay gratification. Like that every kid needs those skills. And so the gigs are really the fun part. Like we have a whole list of things they can be doing in the home and in the community that they're self-motivated to do, remember? So now they're solving all these problems for you. They're doing all these things around the home for mom and dad. It starts with like the simple things you'd think of as chores, but it's extra on top of the stuff they're not supposed to get paid for. So like sweep the garage, something with the pool, something with the pet, laundry, making a meal, cleaning a bathroom, organizing a closet. But then you add in what we call brain gigs. And that is such a that's where the magic, I think, really happens because it makes everything fun for them. That makes the whole list of gigs fun. So a brain gig is something that the kids use their brain to do to create value or learn a skill or capability that adds value to themselves and others. So that could be a TED Talk that they, report back to you, one thing they learned and one thing they're going to apply to their life. That's a $3 gig or $5, $2, whatever you want. Books, YouTubes, podcasts, articles, no sugar for a week. My kids packed for the family trip this summer. They packed the bags. They're 6 and 8 and 4. Okay, they packed the car. They got us all ready. They saved us hours of work, and they learned some really important skills. Grocery shopping. Like the brain gigs are where, see, you and I use our brains for work. We use our brains to create value. We think. We use critical thinking skills. Why are we not teaching that to the next generation? And the brain gigs are the way to do that. So we have all these awesome ones, like, the family travel planning gig, where the kids actually plan the trip on the budget and get the best deals. And the subscription hunt, where they're literally canceling your unwanted subscriptions for you in the homes. They have to learn these skills, right? We have to do more with our kids than for them. So that's the point of everything that we teach here, is you want the kids to learn the capabilities by going through those healthy struggles with a motive, right? They're self-motivated. And that's what gives them confidence to go into the world and create value. And so that's really the power of this way of thinking. Rather than what most parents do is they're like, oh man, I really hope I didn't screw them up. Am I entitling and spoiling my kids? Why are they so anxious? Why are they checked out? Why is my kid playing a victim right now? Why are they throwing the 50th temper tantrum of today? Right? And all these things come from these root causes. Right? So if you implement these systems, it fixes so much of the behavior problems, the conflict, the chore issues, the screen time problems, it fixes it all. And then it teaches them how to be prepared for the real world to excel.
That's fantastic. And Scott, I hope we still have time to hear a story from you, because you mentioned with one of your kids, they're required to purchase the birthday present if they're going to a birthday party. Is that
Yeah,
right? Can you
I'll tell
share
you a
that
couple,
story?
I'll tell you a couple stories that I think people can really connect with. All right. One is of a young kid, mine, and one is of an older kid who's 21 now, who I've been coaching in this for 10 years. Okay. Crazy story. So first one, yeah, my kids are younger, but we've been implementing all of this in the home for years and years. And it's so fun that like our kids are years and years ahead of all their friends. All right. So like my daughter, she was in charge of the birthday present for the party she just went to a few months back. And none of the other kids did that. All the other kids' parents just bought the presents, which I'm guilty of. Every parent's guilty of that. But here's what happened. They get to the party. All the other kids just chucked the present on the table, or their parents brought it in. Like they didn't even open the presents at the party. So none of the kids connect the giving or the generosity. Well, Reagan, she made the $12. Actually, she made $16 because she automatically saved 20 for investing and she gave 10%, right? 20% and 10%.
Mhm.
So she knew, which by the way, that's the first critical lesson for kids. You don't spend what you make. You spend a percentage, right? First on your needs and then on your wants. And so Reagan knew that to go to the party, she had to make sure she had the money that she earned to buy the present. So she goes and gets the $12 present. She goes to the party. Halfway through the party, she walks up with the birthday kid, unprompted. She's like, Daddy, can we please open my present now? I want to see his face, right? And so they sit down in the middle of the ninja gym. He opens her present. He's beaming ear to ear. He gives her a big hug. She's like, I got that for you. I bought that for you. She is so on fire, happy. And all the other parents are like, what is going on right now? I'm like, well, she's in charge of it. It's one of her expenses. And she knew that she had to do, it was about 4 or 5 gigs around the house to earn it. It went right into her account, right through the app that we have for Dinner Table. And now she knows what generosity feels like. So you can't give your kid $10 to then go put in the offering plate. That's not how they learn generosity. They learn it by earning and then feeling the pinch of spending, the delayed gratification of saving, and true generosity of something that they first earned to then give away, right?
It's
So
such a
that's
great
great.
example.
So then Sawyer, my son, he was 5. He turned 6 last month, but he was 5 years old. He comes home from preschool, and I couldn't find him for an hour. Well, he's in the garage. He made up his own gig, collapsing 40 Girl Scout boxes of cookies into a big old pile and putting it in the recycling bin on his own as a 5-year-old.
Terrific.
And I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? He's like, Dad, I made up this gig. I think it's like a $2 or $3 gig. What do you think? I was like, that's awesome. I was like, this is a $5 gig, and we're going to celebrate you at dinner tonight when we talk
Yeah,
about our.
extra $2 for the initiative, right?
That's right. I was teaching him initiative, and this is so powerful in the home. So I've been, training this with tons and tons of families. Well, David is a friend of ours. His son, he's 21 years old. I know his parents really well. We've been coaching David for 10 years on this model. You want to know what happens after 10 years of raising a kid this way? He's 21 years old. He's on his second home, real estate investment. He created a nonprofit for high school kids to mentor thousands of them and give them apprenticeships. He's an IT guy. He's been promoted 6 times in the last 2.5 years, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Hmm.
And he just went to his boss after our coaching a few weeks ago. And he said, I think I've hit a ceiling. I'm going to go off, start an IT company to help solve these big problems for a bunch of other companies. And the next day, his boss was like, no way. We are changing everything for you. We're not losing you. And they upped his salary to $600,000. They made him CTO of the business, and they're paying for his master's, like his MBA right now. And they said, you have full permission to create as much value as humanly possible in this job. And if you ever feel like you're getting close to a ceiling, you tell us. With incredible benefits, right? This is the mindset of a value creation kid. And this is and I have thousands of those stories, but I'm just giving you a picture of this, right? By the way, he reads a book a week. He's in love with the perfect girl after coaching him out of 2 of the wrong ones. And he's just a rock star. He's fit. He's an amazing friend. His parents called me in tears. Like, they're like, you have no idea. We never imagined this would be our kid, our son. So that's the
Fantastic.
power of this coaching. So that's why I want everyone to go through it. It's what the best families in the world do.
Well, Scott, thank you for the time, kind of unpacking dinner table. We're looking forward to seeing all of our clients in a couple of weeks, talking about value creation, the home economy, the gig model, and healthy struggles. So once again, Scott, well done founding Dinner Table. I think it's really meeting an unmet solution. It is the solution for an unmet need in the US and all over the world. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.